Hey guys, what's going on and welcome to the Jag Nerd channel. In today's video I'm going to be giving you guys a very detailed guide on how to play Protection Paladin in Shadowlands better. This is not going to be an extremely high level guide, since I am only on 1500 Rio, which means that I've been basically hitting every single dungeon on plus 16 or higher. The highest key that I've been completing so far was plus 17, so this is definitely not a world first guide. This is not a guide for you if you are trying to be the best Protection Paladin in the world, but if you are trying to hit that Shadowlands Keystone Master achievement or to just simply hit plus 15 keys, then this guide is going to be perfect for you. I'm going to be going through everything that you need to know, from talents, legendaries, conduits, and most importantly, because this is something that I found that most guides don't really detail and this is something that I think is the most important if you want to succeed as a Protection Paladin, and that is playstyle. But first let's talk about the talents. On the first row, I think the only two options that you should consider is Blessed Hammer and Holy Shield. Holy Shield is your basic, more defensive option, but I never really use this because I find that Blessed Hammer, even though it's not a very defensive option, just because of the extra holy power generation, you can pump out some more heals and you can have a bit more uptime on your Shield of the Righteous, so I found that this is your best all-around option. I'm not sure if it works even on higher keys like 22 and higher, but if you are just a normal mortal player like me, then you won't really get to that level anyway, so I think this is going to be your best choice here. In the second row, you really only have one choice. I mean, if you are raiding, then of course you could go with Crusader's Judgment, but this guide is going to be focusing on Mythic Plus. And in Mythic Plus, your only option is going to be first Avenger, especially if you are playing KYRIAN, since this talent is going to be giving you an Absorb Shield every single time when you are casting your Shield of the Righteous. And this, combined with the KYRIAN ability, is going to give you an extremely big Absorb Shield, and this way your KYRIAN ability is not just going to be a great tool to generate more aggro and pump out some DPS, but it's going to be giving you an absolutely great Absorb Shield as well, so it will be counting as a defensive cooldown as well. So I definitely you should pick first Avenger in the second row. In the third row, you can pick either Fist of Justice to pump out some more stuns, but generally there's quite a lot of stuns amongst all of the classes, so there's quite a lot of diminishing returns on this talent. Since so many people are putting out stuns, sometimes you are not getting too much value from it. So Blinding Light might be a better option for you, but you need to consider that in this case there's another ability that you need to be focusing on. And if you are just starting out with Protection Paladin, I recommend you to use Fist of Justice, because I found it that, especially in the beginning, when I was using Blinding Light, I always forget about it. It's not really in your rotation, it's not really in your mind. It can be a better option, but Fist of Justice can be just as good in so many scenarios. So if you are just starting out and you don't want things to get too complicated, I recommend you to use Fist of Justice. But if you are a more advanced player, then I would recommend going with Blinding Light and having one more interrupt in your arsenal. In the next row, I think the only viable option is going to be Unbreakable Spirit, because you want as much uptime on your Ardent Defender as possible, and you are going to be using a conduit for this as well, which is an absolutely must. So I definitely recommend to use this talent. You can use Cavalier if you want to kite more, but that can get quite messy. Also, Blessing of Spellwarding can be useful in certain dungeons, but just as an all-around pick, always go with Unbreakable Spirit. I think that's an absolutely great option. Moving on to the next row, you want to pick either Divine Purpose here or Holy Avenger. Holy Avenger can be great if you kind of need an extra defensive button, since if you use Holy Avenger, then your holy power generation is going to be triple, which means that you can pump out a lot of heals. With this, you can either help your team or you can heal yourself. So this way you can have an extra defensive button, but I don't really think that this is much needed. If you want an extra defensive button, then I rather want you to go with Final Stand. I think that's a way better option, but just so you know, you can pick this as well. It's a viable option, but in most scenarios and to pump out some more DPS, I would recommend you to use Divine Purpose. On the next row, there's again two viable options. You can either go with Consecrated Grounds, which is definitely good if you are playing on affixes such as Raging, when you need to kite a bit more. And just in general, if you feel like that you are getting hit too much, or if your healer that you are playing with cannot really handle healing you, or if you just simply need to kite for any reason, then this is what you need to be going with. But other than that, Hand of the Protector is an absolutely great option with what you can help out your healer. So if your healer is struggling on healing, let's say Pride, then you can help your healer out greatly with this option. Also, I tend to pick this in dungeons such as Plaguefall on a Tyrannical week, where on the last boss most of the healers are struggling a lot to heal through the second phase. With this you can help out your healers, but you always need to consider that if you are not taking Consecrated Rounds, then you are going to be struggling with kiting. Most of the high level players are taking Hand of the Protector since their teammates can help out with kiting, but on a pug this is not going to be the case. So if you are pugging and you know that you need to kite, then you always need to pick Consecrated Grounds. Next row, moving up, I recommend to you that if you are playing on key levels such as 15, 16, 17, if that's your goal, go with Final Stand. It's such a great defensive button that can save your life in so many opportunities, situations, and also you can help out your team because you can stay inside even a big pack and you don't need to kite, you don't need to pull the mobs all around you. Your team can just AoE down the mobs in the same place. You can stand there and you can survive anything for 8 seconds. It's an amazing defensive button which only has 3.5 minute cooldown. 3.5 minutes cooldown for 100% damage reduction for 8 seconds. I mean, that is just absolutely amazing. Of course, if you need to pump out more DPS, then you need to go with the Righteous Protector. In this case, you will kind of have 1 minute cooldown on your Avenging Wrath, and you are going to lower the cooldown on your Guardian of Ancient Kings as well. But this is, I feel like the cooldown reduction on Guardian of Ancient Kings is just not enough to compete with the defensiveness of Final Stand. So if you need to be more defensive, always go with Final Stand. It's just great for cheating some mechanics and for withstanding great groups and to be able to pull bigger packs. I think on lower key levels it's always going to be a better option. On higher key levels, when you need more DPS, when you are struggling because you don't have enough DPS, then you need to go with Righteous Protector and you need to somehow handle not having that extra defensive button. Alright guys, but that's it for the talent, and now let's move on. In terms of our conduits, I definitely always recommend to go with Resolute Defender. This is the only conduit that you always need to pick, because this is going to be giving you extra uptime on your Ardent Defender, plus it's going to be reducing the cooldown as well. And how you want to play with this conduit is that you want to generate at least 3 holy powers before using your Ardent Defender every single time, so you can instantly start off with a Shield of the Righteous and you can make the duration longer. Of course, after this you want to generate as much holy power as fast as possible to be able to use more Shield of the Righteous and make the duration even longer. For this anyways, the KYRIAN ability is another absolutely great pick, since it's going to be giving you kind of 2 charges of Shield of the Righteous out from the start. Next up, Shielding Words is another conduit that I really recommend, since this is going to be increasing your heals by 22%, which is just simply a great pick. Other than this, your other defensive options would be Golden Path, but I don't really feel like that this gives enough heals to be worth it. I think that Shielding Words will provide you much more self-heal. And also another great pick is either Royal Decree, if you are playing, as I said before, the Righteous Protector, since this is going to be lowering the cooldown on your Ancient Kings even more. So if you are playing Righteous Protector, always pick Royal Decree. If you are playing Final Stand though, then always pick Divine Call, since this is going to be reducing the cooldown on your Divine Shield. So just again, Final Stand, Divine Call, Righteous Protector, Royal Decree every single time. In terms of your potency conduits, if you are playing on a Tyrannical week, then sometimes Punish the Guilty can be a good option, since there's a lot of single target fights. But other than that, I find that Ringing Clarity is a good all-around option. It's good for single target and for AoE as well. Also, as an all-around good pick, Vengeful Shock is going to be good as well, but I don't know, I just feel like it gives you a good overall DPS boost, but it's not really good situationally. So I just feel like that Ringing Clarity or Punish the Guilty are just simply better options. So that's what I recommend. If you are going in a line where you are using a finesse conduit, then I always recommend using Light's Boarding, since this is going to be increasing the uptime on your Divine Steed, which is just absolutely amazing for kiting, so always go with this if you are using the finesse conduits. In terms of your soul binds, if you are playing KYRIAN, and that's what I recommend you to play, I've been trying the other covenants too, but I can tell you guys that definitely KYRIAN is going to be the way to go. And just here, let's start to talk about the covenants as well. So KYRIAN is going to be your pick. I've been trying Ventir, I've been trying the other covenants too, but KYRIAN is definitely the best option to go. And the reason for this is two things. One is going to be that First Avenger combined with Divine Toll is going to be giving you a huge absorb shield. And for this reason, from this point, Divine Toll counts not just as a great DPS cooldown, but as a great defensive cooldown too, on only 1 minute cooldown. Only 1 minute for a great absorb shield, plus Combat Meditation will give you, every time when you cast Divine Toll, 350 Mastery. 350 Mastery comes down to the fact that it's going to be giving you an extra 10% damage reduction if you are standing in your consecration. Because if you are not sure about this, the mastery is going to be reducing all damage taken while you are inside your consecration. When you are casting Divine Toll, this extra 350 mastery is going to be giving you an extra 10% minus damage. So it's not only giving you a great DPS boost, it's helping with taking aggro on bigger packs. Also, it's giving you a huge absorb shield, and it's going to help you to reduce incoming damage by 10% while you are standing inside your consecration. Also increasing black chance, but that's just a little extra on top. So just this ability is so powerful, and also the File of Serenity from your steward is going to be healing 20% health, which is not that great on a 3-minute cooldown, but the main thing here that it removes all disease, poison, curse and bleed effects, and there's some brutal bleed effects in this game right now. So this is just an amazing extra defensive cooldown. So this is going to be the way to go in terms of defensiveness, and even in terms of DPS. I've been trying Ventir, for example, and you can pump out some more DPS with that, but it's just not worth it because you are losing way too much in terms of your defensives. So the way to go is always going to be KYRIAN, and it's always going to be Pelagos. Just because of the combat meditation, of course. Also, Let Go of the Past is a great talent as well, but it's going to be just giving you a 3% damage reduction, so it's not that of an interesting or viable option in lower level keys. But in general, for sure, you should go with KYRIAN and you should go with Pelagos. And this is the option that I would recommend to you guys to go. So just again, Resolute Defender, Shielding Words, Ringing Clarity, and if you are playing the talent of Righteous Protector, then go with Royal Decree. If you are playing Final Stand, which I recommend definitely on these key levels, then go with Divine Call. Alright guys, in terms of your legendaries, and yes, there's a huge mess in my bags right here and I don't have too much gold on this character, don't judge me. Anyways, two of your viable options are going to be Seal of Righteous Fury and Holy Avenger's Engraved Sigil. What I recommend to you guys, that if it's a fortified week, then I would recommend using Seal of Righteous Fury, since this is going to be giving you so much extra DPS on larger packs. Though this is not going to help you with, it's not going to help at all with your defensive, so this is only a DPS legendary, but it's going to be bumping up your DPS by quite a lot. So I recommend using this on 45 weeks because you can just get so much DPS out of it. But if you need defensives, or if it's a tyrannical week, then I would rather recommend using Holy Avenger's Engraved Sigil, since the DPS boost is not that much lower, but the extra holy power generation is going to be absolutely great. Also, On single target encounters and on a tyrannical week, you are having much longer single target encounters. The DPS boost is going to be much better than in case of Seal of the Righteous. So if it's a tyrannical week, then I recommend going with Holy Avenger's Engraved Sigil, or if you need more defensives, then definitely pick this, since it's more holy power and it's more absorb, since your Avenger shield is going to be generating an absorb shield as well, as I mentioned before. But if you want more DPS and if you want a bit more fun, especially on 45 weeks, then always go with Seal of the Righteous Fury, since this is going to be bumping up your DPS, especially and most likely on AoE packs and packs where there's 4 or more maps by quite a lot. So these are the only two legendaries that I would recommend. It doesn't matter if you are raiding or running Mythic Plus, these are the two legendaries that you should be using. So just again, Holy Avenger's Engraved Sigil for Tyrannical Week and more defensives, and Seal of the Righteous Fury for more DPS and especially for 45 weeks. Alright guys, next up I want to talk about playstyle, and this is something that I really want to dedicate some time on, and this is going to be a lot of things, so just sit back, relax and enjoy this part. I hope that you are going to be learning something from here. So first of all, cooldown management and how you should use your cooldowns. One thing that I really think that you should consider is that I think an issue that so many tanks are doing is that they are using their cooldowns when they are already in trouble, when they are already low on health and they are struggling and they are trying to stay alive by using their cooldowns. But you should use your cooldowns proactively, so when you know that you are going to be getting a lot of damage, you should use before so you can mitigate as much damage as possible, because in the beginning of a pool, when there's the most mobs alive, when nothing has too much CC yet, that's when you are going to be getting the most damage, and that's when you can mitigate the most damage. So you should be going into a large pool with your cooldowns ready and ready to go from the get-go. Of course, you don't want to use them before getting into the puck, you want to use them just when you are starting to get damage. So first of all, Ardent Defender. This is going to be a cooldown that you can use on nearly every single pack, since because of our conduit, with every single time when you are using Shield of Righteous, you are going to be reducing the cooldown by 1.4 seconds. Also, you are going to be extending the duration by 20%. So what does this mean? This means that you want to pump out as many Shield of the Righteous as possible, especially during Ardent Defender, but most importantly, you want to pump out as many just from the get-go, because it increases the duration by 20% and 20% of the actual duration that is left. So in the beginning, if you use it, it's going to be prolonging the effect by more than if you are using it at the end. I hope that this kind of makes sense. So how you want to approach a fight is that you are approaching from far away. You are using your judgment first. So you are using your judgment, running towards the pack, you are not getting damage yet. You are running towards the pack, you are using your judgment, you are still not getting damage, you are using your Avenger shield, so you are generating that absorb shield. The more enemies hit, the more shield. And then just as you are getting there, you are going to be using one Blessed Hammer, and this is when you start getting hit. So you cast your Ardent Defender and you instantly go with the Shield of the Righteous, and then you instantly, if you have, you go with the Divine Toll, which gonna be generating 5 holy power. Then you go with another Avenger shield, another Blessed Hammer, or more likely a shield, but it might not be back to cooldown at that point, and then another Avenger shield. And from this point you are just going with your usual rotation. But it is very important that you want to pump out as many Shield of the Righteous in the beginning as possible, for two reasons. One, because you want uptime on your Shield of the Righteous, so you should be using it. Other thing is that you want to prolong the duration of Ardent Defender. So, as you are going in, just one more time guys, you are going with a Judgment from far away, with an Avenger shield, you are still not getting hit, you go with a Blessed Hammer, and then you are using your cooldown, and then instantly a Shield of the Righteous, and if your Divine Toll is off cooldown, you use it, and then you use another 2 Shield of the Righteous. This is going to be giving you a great uptime on your Ardent Defender, and it's also going to be decreasing its cooldown by quite a lot. So this is the way that you want to go. Alright, next up is Guardian of Ancient Kings. The only thing that I want to mention here is that I usually use this on the following pack after using Ardent Defender, but there's not much to speak about here because you cannot prolong this effect by anything, but I just want you guys to consider using this as well at the beginning of the pool rather than at the end, because you want to mitigate as much damage as possible. I'm usually rotating between Ardent Defender and Guardian of Ancient Kings, and I'm trying to use a defensive cooldown on nearly every single pack for two reasons. One is that you don't want to kite too much because you want to keep the mobs grouped up so your DPS can deal more damage and kill them faster. And also you just basically want to help out your healer as much as possible. So usually you can use your Ardent Defender, then on the next pack you can use your Guardian of Ancient Kings, and then usually the Ardent Defender is already off cooldown and you can use it again. Also another defensive cooldown that you want to be utilizing is Divine Shield. What's important here is that you want to be using Divine Shield on harder pulls, and also this is a defensive cooldown that you want to be using when you are low on health or if you are in a serious danger. So as I said, Ardent Defender and Guardian of Ancient Kings should be used proactively, but Divine Shield should be used reactively. So you are using this if you see that you are going to die and there's not much to do and you are using this, or you are going to be using this, let's say, in the other side. I'm using this on the first pack. It's a huge pack with around 8 mobs and it's going to be blasting you extremely hard. So your two options there is that you are either using Guardian of Ancient Kings and even Ardent Defender, or you can use Divine Shield. So what I recommend is that when you are going into a large pack, or if you are pulling 2 or 3 packs in the same time, then you want to jump in. You don't want to use your other cooldowns because you definitely don't want these overlapping, because this is a 100% damage reduction. So you just want to generate as much holy power as possible. You want to pump out as much DPS as possible, even maybe put on a shield, because with this you are putting out some DPS too. But after that, when you see that your health is getting low because you don't have any other cooldowns on, so you are going to be dying pretty much. When you see that your health is around 30% or even a bit lower, then you want to pop your Divine Shield. The reason for this is that you want to get as much use out of it as possible. You know that you are not going to die because you are going to have a full-on immunity. So you wait until you are low on health, because anyways your healer will have plenty of time. The healer will have 8 seconds to heal you back up, and then you are using your Divine Shield. Your healer will heal you back up, and then when it finishes, if the pack is not dead already, then you have two options. You either use Consecration if you are using Consecrated Grounds and you kite them away, or you can use another defensive cooldown to stay alive after this. But usually I don't recommend using any other defensive cooldowns. I recommend using Divine Shield, and after that just trying to kite the mobs until your DPS kills them, because anyways that should happen within a couple of seconds after your Divine Shield finishing. Alright guys, so that's it about our cooldown management. Next up is about the basic playstyle. So the important things that you need to consider is that you always want to keep Shield of the Righteous up. So you never really want to go for a heal other than a Shield of the Righteous, because this is going to be giving you much more mitigation. I know that you all saw the video from Rextroy using only heals, but that only works on like Mythic zeros. On higher keys you will need to be using Shield of the Righteous, so you want to have uptime as much as possible. Also this is going to be giving you a free heal after every 5 Shield of the Righteous, so you want to keep track of it. You definitely want this weak aura to be able to keep track, and then you will know when you will have an extra heal, because in some situations you might see that you are going to die if you don't heal yourself. But if you see that you have like 4 Shining Light procs, then you want to rather use a shield, pump out some more DPS, and then heal yourself with the free heal. So you always want to keep track of your Shining Light. Always. So definitely guys, get a weak aura for this. You just type it into Google, Shining Light weak aura, and you can find it. Easy peasy. Anyways, so you want to always keep your Shield of the Righteous up. But here's an important thing. If you are fighting an enemy that is only doing magical damage, then there is no point to keep this up, because you can see its physical damage reduction by 45.10%. So if you are fighting an enemy, let's say the last boss in Necrotic Wake, which is only magical damage, then don't use Shield of the Righteous as a defensive option. If you see that you are dying, then you want to heal yourself, because this is not going to be mitigating magic damage. So you definitely need to consider this. This only mitigates physical damage. So if you need to mitigate magic damage, then you either can do it with Guardian of Ancient Kings, with Ardent Defender, because these are reducing the overall damage taken, not just physical damage, or you can use your Word of Glory to keep yourself alive. So on these fights, let's say just as on Necrotic Wake last boss, you don't want to use your Shield of the Righteous if you need defensives. Of course you use it if you want to pump out more DPS, and when you are absolutely safe if your healer can manage. But if your healer cannot, or you need to help out your healer, then you always want to use rather Word of Glory to keep yourself alive. So Shield of the Righteous against physical damage, and pretty much in most options, like 90% of the time you need to use this, and you need to keep this up all the time. But other than that, if it's magical damage, then you are using Word of Glory. Alright guys, next up, it's going to be the priority of this pass. So if you want to pump out as much damage as possible, then you always want to use your Judgment and your Avenger Shield on cooldown. Avenger Shield is doing much more damage than a Blessed Hammer, and it also gives you an Absorb Shield, and also Judgment is going to be just it's simply your biggest damage option. So in terms of damage, you want to use these, and then when these are on cooldown, then you are using Blessed Hammer, because this is going to be giving you some damage reduction also, and also it's just simply a good holy power generator. But just again, you always want to use Judgment and Avenger Shield on cooldown, and then if those are on cooldown, then you are using your Blessed Hammer. Alright, so moving up. Alright guys, next up, it's going to be consecration time. So I see so many people forgetting consecration, like protection paladins. Guys, this is, especially if you are running a higher mastery gear, then this is going to be giving you so much damage reduction. In my case, my mastery is pretty low, it only gives me 5%, but even 5% is a lot. So you definitely always want to stand inside your consecration, because this is going to be giving you 5% damage reduction in my case. But, and here comes the main point, if you are using your Divine Toll ability, then it's instantly going to give you 9%, so it's giving you an extra 5% damage reduction, which is absolutely huge. It definitely counts as another defensive cooldown, and you should always try to stay within your consecration. Of course, if you need to kite, then you cannot always do this, but in most cases you can, and you should always stay inside your consecration. It's not only giving you extra DPS from its damage, but it's also an extra defensive as well. So always consider standing within your consecration. Alright guys, I'm not gonna go into every single ability. Of course, you should cleanse yourself whenever you can in dungeons such as Plaguefall. It's an absolutely great defensive. You should use your Freedom if you need more mobility. You can kind of cheese some spells with this, such as in Sanguine Depths, the Shackle. You can just dispel this with this from you. Oh my god, what am I talking about? Anyways guys, I'm sure that you understand me. And also the wings, you just want to use wings on bigger packs, and generally you want to use it on cooldown. Of course, if you are running up to a pack where there's only a single mob, then, and you know that after that there is a huge pack, and then it's just getting off cooldown, then you want to wait. But in most scenarios, and especially in the beginning, just use it for cooldown, and then you are going to get as much value out from it as possible. Yeah, so that's it pretty much for the playstyle. So just again about all of the basics, you want to always keep your Shield of the Righteous uptime to the maximum, so you always want this up. Only if you are only getting magical damage, then you want to rather heal yourself, or of course you can also use your Shield of the Righteous as a DPS option. You want to always use your defensive such as Ardent Defender and Guardian of Ancient Kings proactively, so at the beginning of a pool when there's the most incoming damage. And also with your Ardent Defender, you always want to keep in mind that you want to use it when you have at least 3 holy power, but in best case scenario you want to use it with 5 holy powers, and then pump out as much Shield of the Righteous as possible during its duration, so that you can make it longer and you can reduce the cooldown by as much as possible, so you can use it again. Also with Divine Shield, you want to use this on high pulse, and you want to use it when you are already on low health, since you are going to have a lot of time to heal yourself back up, or for the healer to heal you back up, and for that duration you are getting 0 damage, so you can keep the mobs grouped up. And when this finishes, you always need to consider either using another defensive or to kite the mobs. Most likely you should kite. Also, you should always stand within your consecration, and your priority is going to be always Judgment, followed by Avenger Shield, and then you are using Blessed Hammer. This is your priority in terms of your holy power generation. Alright guys, I know that this was just so much information and so much stuff, but these are the main things that I'm considering when I'm playing Protection Paladin. So I hope that you found something useful here. If you have any question about Protection Paladin, or anything that you are struggling with, or if you want to know a bit more about roots or enemy abilities within dungeons, or if there's anything that you want to still learn about Protection Paladin, or just in general Mythic Plus, then please let me know guys, and I will try to make a video on it. I really enjoy making these videos, and I really enjoy helping you guys. So just again, I hope that this helped, and I will see you guys in the next one.